Oh, I'm just sending my links everywhere. But I figured I would just do this while hanging out. Because it ain't too long of a process to go into the self-promo tag. Just hang out. Say hey. Howdy do. Ah, man. It's a little warm today. I've got my AC going, but it's still just so... It's just so hot, you know? What's a guy to do? Alright. Got everything going. Got the chat taken care of. Got stream elements in my chat. Hanging out, taking care of things. Ugh. I should have brought some water, but I think I'll be fine. You know, famous last words, you know? But hey, whatever. Let's get this fucking party started. Ooh, I'm gonna have to check that out later. There was some news about one of my favorite games of all time, Crosscode. Great game. I don't know if I'll be able to play it again or even continue with the DLC, just because it took such a long time to come out, and you know it's kind of tough I need to really be in the mood for an RPG. You know, I'm not. It's tough. It's tough to be in that mood. Anyways, Steam was just telling me about that, so let's crack in. Doo-doo. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have hooked up my controller. I can actually still hook up my controller. Let me just check and see. Let me turn down the volume in my headset. Controller should work fine. It's just kind of weird having my hands being tracked on the keyboard. Oh, right. What I want to do is give us the outfits. Yeah! Yeah, let's go! Alright, now we can continue. It feels so nice to be able to gesticulate. It must have been a real shock for you this morning. I hear that you discovered what had happened. Ah, well, that hopeless actor chap rises at 5 o'clock sharp every morning without fail. But at 5:30 this morning, he still hadn't lit the gas. So I went down and knocked on his door, but no bally answer. And that's when you broke into his room by kicking the door down. Well, I called on that rum-looking Japanese chap to do the grunt work, of course. Wasn't it a little premature to kick the door down? The man could have just overslept by half an hour. That's very true, Mr. Naruto. If 30 minutes of oversleeping warranted such behavior, I'd have to kick your door down every morning. Look at her. Look at her. She's got the sakura petals on her steampunky goggles. She's got a cravat. I can dig this outfit because she's got a cravat and she's got gloves, but she's got the open back hands on the gloves. Well, you know, better to be safe than sorry and all that. Is it just me, or is he avoiding our gaze now all of a sudden? Except it was a sorry situation indeed that you found on the far side of the door. Victim's name is Mr. Shakespeare, I believe. Is that right? Yes, William Shakespeare took the ground floor room 3 months ago now. And how would you describe him? In a word, destitute. Destitute? Well, let's face it, the only redeeming feature of that room is the cheap rent. Anyone wanting to live in a place like that is either broke or has a bally screw loose. So hard to choose which category Soseki-san would fall into. Miss Naruhodo, that's rude as hell. He was doing research as well. Research? Into what? Shakespeare, of course, Shakespeare! Read a few plays of the old bard myself, you know. Romeo and Hamlet and all that. Yes, William Shakespeare is England's most highly regarded classical playwright and author. He's known as Sao in Japanese, as you know, and many of his works has already been translated. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Sao? How does that come about, do you wonder? Sao. It seems incredible that Shakespeare was shortened to Sao, though. Someone was too heavy-handed there. There were a lot of costumes in the victim's room, actually, weren't there? Of course, Mr. Natsume is a scholar of English literature as well. I imagine he and Mr. Shakespeare would have much in common. Shakespeare interpretation disagreement leads to shocking murder. Well, let's hope it's not that. Mr. Naruhodo, really, how rude. So what happened yesterday? What happened? After Mr. Natsume's trial yesterday, you came straight back here, I believe, didn't you? Did you notice anything strange between then and this morning? Well now, must have been about 6 in the evening by the time I got home. Snow was coming down rather heavily, as I remember, and it was completely dark already. That failed actor chap was out at the time. Mr. Garrett noticed there was no light from his room or something, I suppose? Couldn't summon the energy for anything much, so I just sat in front of the fire up here. It was after 8 before Shakespeare got back, and the chap was up until past 1 in the morning, I'll have you know. Suppose he met his end sometime after that. I was asleep by then, so I'm rather in the dark there. Well, thank you. That was very illuminating. Oh, you've got a question, Susato? You've got that look. You've got that look. Is everything alright, Mrs. Sato? Well, I was just thinking it's a little strange, that's all. Mr. Garadeb, you were up here in your room all evening, if I've understood correctly. Not a big fan of stairs, not with this blasted leg. Then, how is it that you seem to know? The precise movements of your tenant on the ground floor, I mean. That's a very good point. I can't imagine that you could hear noises from the ground floor all the way up here. Does this old man like to spy on his tenants, is that it? I say, I know what you're thinking, and it's a bally outrage. I'm ex-military, don't you know? I don't go around spying on my tenants, why would I? Then how did you know, Mr. Garadeb? It's the gas woman! The gas tells me everything! The gas? Ah, I see. What on earth do you mean, sir? How can the gas tell you anything, let alone everything? Well, as you're probably aware, the gas is supplied to the building by pipes. Yes, I'd more or less worked that out. Every room in the building is connected by a single pipe of gas to the main gas main outside. And the gas company supplies gas to properties via the main. Yes, I understand that too. Let me see if I can explain. Let's say I was to light the gas lamps up here. What do you suppose would happen? Well, obviously the room would get brighter. Exactly, but at the same time, the lights in all the other rooms of the house would dim for a moment. What? They'd dim? Why? Perhaps it's because when you light a gas lamp, it briefly uses more gas than usual. And that reduces the amount of gas in the pipe for the other lamps that are connected to it. That might explain why the other lamps dim momentarily, mightn't it? Yes, of course, because everything's connected to a single supply pipe. Is that supposed to happen, though? It sounds rather undesirable. Jolly good point. Fact is, the gas company's pipes in these parts are pretty hopeless, long worn out, and barely got any gas in them to start with. Opposite's also true, of course. You extinguish the lamps up here and they glow bright in the rest of the house. Ah, right, I see. So by watching the flickering of the lamps in one room, you can determine what's happening elsewhere. You've got it. Well, of course, because when people come back home in the evening and before they go to sleep at night, what they're guaranteed to do is either light or put out their lamps and fires. Clever. In point of fact, the room on the ground floor and the one above it use slightly different amounts of gas. By watching the lights in here closely, I can work out almost exactly what's going on in the whole house. Gosh, that's fascinating, Mr. Garrett. Absolutely fascinating. Oh, well, nothing to it, really. And I can't really see that it's going to help us with the case either. What I'd like to know is why Mr. Garrett is so interested in what his tenants are up to in this first place. I feel like there's more to it than idle curiosity. Perhaps you got to go to the prison and speak with Mr. Natsume again. Soseki-san! Hey, Soseki-san! Hey, Mr. Soseki! Local prison, cell 9. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Mr. Natsume, have the police finished questioning you now? Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Oh, yes? What is he? Tell me. Is he a ghost? Is he here to haunt me? Let me guess. You're talking about Mr. Sholmes? He actually calls himself a great detective, Mr. Natsume, not a ghost. But his diabolical deductions, they're not of this world. They've left me. Ah, cursed! I'm cursed, I tell you! Well, that sort of hurts. Credit where credit is due, Mr. Naruhodo. You were heavily involved in the deduction, too. Yes, moving on. We have some wonderful news! Oh. The victim that we all thought was dead has come back to life again. Now, in the absolutely worst case, you could only be tried for attempted murder. That's great, isn't it, Mr. Natsume? It's terrible! Oh. I'm stuck in the cell, suffering for some silly wrong end of the stick! Huh? You did it, didn't you? Confess, you're a killer. Why the mustache? Huh? Constant questions! I'm sorry to hear that. Ah, that selfish shyster! Make up your mind. Are you dead or alive? If you were going to come back to life, why bother dying? Alright, let's see if I can do this pose. Not really. I can't go too far out of range. And also it has to be underhanded as well. But that specific angle doesn't really track very well, unfortunately. Wickedly wishy-washy William! Well, it seems likely that Mr. Shamspeare was never actually dead in the first place. Ah, yes, that might make sense. And I'm pleased that he's alive, of course. Our lively debate last night was much fun. I'd be sad to think it our last. Oh! Oops. Mr. Natsume, does this mean that you did see the victim last night? You met with Mr. Shamspeare, didn't you? I'm not saying another word! I demand to have a lawyer present! Who do you think I am, you or I am? Please, Mr. Natsume, we need to hear your side of the story. Why am I cursed like this? Have you seen this? Have I shown you this before, Mr. Natsume? Oh yes! The sweet, sweet aroma of our beloved homeland! It shows that the wearer is a defense lawyer. It means nothing in Great Britain, of course, but I still wear it. Oh, I know exactly how you feel, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. My Haramaki belly band! I don't feel right without it! Your Haramaki belly band? It's perfect for the cold English winters. Just the thing to keep my tummy warm. Yes, I see the link. Almost. What about these teacups? Mr. Natsume, it's nothing much, but... Ah, it's been too long since I've been offered a present with that delightfully humble etiquette of our homeland. What? You're too kind. I accept it gladly. Sorry, but I wasn't trying to give it to you, actually. Well, we'll just converse. What happened? What'd you do? Why'd you do it? Why did you kill him? Can you tell us exactly what happened last night, Mr. Natsume? There's nothing to tell. But, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I'm eternally grateful to you for helping me with that accursed case yesterday. Case that saw poor Miss Green hospitalized after she ended up with a knife in her back. It's hard to believe that was only yesterday. After the trial was over, I trudged my weary way back to my lowly lodgings. Eh? Click! Click! Click the button! Oh, are you out of batteries? Well, here, everyone gets to see how the Steam controller's batteries get replaced and hear it. First, you go in and you remove the previous batteries. It has been a little while since I've... No. Yes, I know. Then you flip up the battery thingy and pull out the previous batteries and throw them in the fucking garbage. Oh, this one's stuck in here, huh? Come on. Get out! I hope nobody clips this. This is embarrassing. Ugh. Leave! Ugh. There we go. Finally. Jesus Christ. Into the fucking garbage. Luckily I have a pack of AA batteries here on my desk in case of just such an occasion. Lock and load. Lock and load. Put the cover back on. Eh? It wasn't the batteries? It... Ham. I appear to be encountering some sort of technical difficulties. I don't know what the issue could be. Probably something to do with the actual dongle. The Steam controller is quite old. Alright. Alternative controller method time. Hello. Now how's this? Try this on for size, you motherfuckers. The new Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Making sure the buttons all work. Okay, good. Everything's matching. Good. So did you go to the victim's room then? As we feared. I didn't do anything wrong! I'd never been to his room before. It was the first time. Then what made you decide to go? I bumped into him when I arrived back at the house. We got chatting and it developed into a discussion. But he had to go out, so I bade him farewell. I tied him with Mr. Garrett said that the victim went out and came back after 8. We met again later that evening at around 9 or just after, when I took him some nice tea I'd brewed as a gift. So it was you who brought the tea that had clearly been drunk at the scene then. And I suppose you were discussing the works of Shakespeare, were you? That's right. That's exactly right. Romeo and Juliet! Who was the stronger? It was a delightful debate. I'm sure. Such a stimulating subject, Shakespeare! And the debate became very heated, so you slipped poison into Mr. Shakespeare's tea? No, never, not at all! Team Juliet won, that was me, and when I left his room, the flamboyant fellow was fighting fit. I swear it, categorically! Mr. Natsume, you often say the same thing about yourself, I've noticed. That you have a cursed existence. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, but I've been here in Great Britain for a year now, and in that time I've learned that it's no place for me. It can be very trying to live in a foreign land and adapt to the ways of another culture. There are foreigners everywhere I look, and they all stare at me, they all laugh! That's the impression I get whenever I go out. It makes me scared to leave my room. Which is why I've become a recluse. But even in my room I find no respite from my fears. I've moved more times than I can remember, and then, 1 week ago, I moved into Briar Road. But why? I mean, why did you choose that place? It doesn't seem very comfortable. Because the rent is cheap. I have so little money, it spoke to me. The rent? Obviously, there's a reason why it's cheap. Because the room is cursed. Cursed? Cursed how? The previous occupant, the man who lived there before I took the room, died there. Oh no! He was only a young man, but one morning he was found dead and no one could explain why. Surely no one would want to live in a room with his history like that. I didn't. When the letting agent recommended the place, I wavered. But I want books! And books cost money! A horrible history is a small price to pay! When I realized it would mean I could buy more books, I signed the lease like lightning. Brave, or blinkered. But after I moved in, I soon came to realize what I'd done. I realized how horrible that room's history really was. Gosh, was it really so awful? Give me the deets, brah. How did the room's horrible history affect you, Mr. Natsume? What happened? I've got the feeling that the previous tenants had some sort of illicit dealings going on, and that's why there were weird bricks of soap in the walls, and why the windows are never replaced, and why Mr. Garadeb is spying on all his tenants all the time, and stuff like that. At first it was just the feeling of beady eyes boring into my back, watching me. Ooh. Do you think that might have just been your mind playing tricks on you? No. My mind doesn't know any tricks. It was someone else. It's been one long nightmare ever since I was given the keys to that place. A nightmare? You've been having bad dreams, you mean? All the souls who've died in that room lean over me in my sleep and try to strangle me. That really is horrible. And now I come to think of it, it happened again last night, too. The very same night that Mr. Shamspeare was writhing in agony from the poison in his body. I was on the verge of being suffocated silently by those miserable spirits in my room. She said I must move out of that room as soon as possible. Yes, you're right, I know it, and that's why I'm already searching for my next room with a history to call home. I think perhaps you should try to avoid accommodation with any kind of history at all. Otherwise, I'm scared that you yourself may become history. Ooh, Susada-san knows how to make the man listen. Very interesting, Mr. Soseki. Of course, Mr. Lord of the Manor is worried about the curse on my room as well. He means Mr. Garadeb. Yes, he knows that if people keep dying there, he'll never be able to rent it out again. Well, that's true. I, for one, wouldn't go near the place. Perhaps. That may explain why the landlord pays so much attention to the gas lamps and his tenants' movements. You mean, because he's worried about their well-being? He does seem to have an unusually keen interest in the amount of gas in the pipes. There must be a reason why he keeps such close tabs on the occupants of his let rooms. What do you mean he pays so much attention to the gas lamps? Oh dear, no! It has nothing to do with you, Mr. Natsume. Please, forget I said anything. Oh, now you're talking about me behind my back as well. What's important is that Mr. Shamspeare isn't, in fact, dead at all. Once he's come around and he's able to tell us what happened, we'll be able to get you released. Yes, please! Oh, I do hope you're right. Excuse me. Inspector Gregson! Couldn't help overhearing what you just said. And on that note, I have some good news and some bad news. Oh. Which do you want first? Always, every time, the bad news comes first. But hope is all you have. Hold on to it. That's my guiding principle. Alright, well, in that case, the good news is it is. Huh? Sorry, but it's just a lot easier to explain everything that way. Then why did you ask me my preference? As you might have heard, the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, was just unconscious. He's come around now. Yes, we saw it happen in all its terrifying glory. He's still being treated by the doctors, but we've managed to get a written statement from him already. Oh, isn't that wonderful, Mr. Natsume? Oh, thank goodness. It's all over then. I can leave this somber cell. Sorry, no. That's not on the cards. What? Why have I not, Inspector? Mr. Shamspeare has implicated someone as being responsible for what happened last night. Implicated someone? Oh dear. You don't mean... I'm sorry to say I do, yes. He's pointing the finger at you, Miss Natsume. Ah! By sweet poison did he seeketh to end my life. That wicked caitiff, Soseki Natsume. No! So I'm afraid you'll be appearing in court as planned. You'll be wanting to make the necessary preparations. No! Damn it. And so, once again, Soseki-san found himself having to take the dock in the Old Bailey. Whether his room was haunted or whether he was just terribly unlucky, I had no choice. The following day, I would represent him in court, and do my utmost to break the curse that blighted him. So, I'm thinking that he might actually be trying to be... Someone might actually be trying to strangle him in his sleep. Just... I'm gonna wring your fucking neck. The Old Bailey. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out into nervous sweat all at the same time. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. That's my line! Good morning! Ohayo gozaimasu! Ah, good morning, Mr. Natsume. It's only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here. Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back. You know, like this. This is what you didn't do. But now this! Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole! Can't keep coming to court! But, hit the chat log. Didn't mean to do that. I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Yes, morning. So, here we are again. Yes, again. Judicial Citizen Miss Mikotoba Esquire is, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? If you come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say! Oh, I am sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Mr. Sato. Now, what is it? The Reaper is... It seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Baroque Van Zeeks. Van Zeeks? Gah! Oh no, oh no, no! Oh, actually, I can set autoplay on, can't I? Yeah, there we go. Now I can use both my hands! Ah! In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Soseki-san and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter, after all. Yes, I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zeeks is the prosecutor. Oh no! That even if the person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. And we've experienced it firsthand. With the death A man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. At the time of this case, they don't know what happened, but... do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes boring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper! Hair of petrifying perils, potentially? Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Look who stood Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Ah, yes! I'm innocent! You have to believe me! You more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle, I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Yeah. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go! Oh, yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid you won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. That's probably for the best. Oh! If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zieks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, welcome student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said. I swear on the sword at my side and on the spirit of Cosmo that it harbors. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free with honor. Oh, yes. Let's go, fighting spirit. I'm too animated. My glasses keep falling down my nose. Welcome back to the old Bailey. Yeah, I'm wearing a stupid outfit. Hell yeah. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. Ooh. It's not just my imagination. It's really there. Lord Van Zieks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, he hasn't appeared in court at all. Yet now, he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I still have to concentrate on Soseki-san's trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Absolutely, I had a feeling this larrikin wasn't innocent before. I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching. Actually, I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bumps tonight or the missus will go through the roof. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead us flock to a righteous verdict. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of the judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public, and that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London chosen at random. Random. At least that's the idea. Random. Prosecution will draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zieks, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime, namely that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. Ugh. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene and the accused himself. I'm gonna move my body down a little bit and zoom out just a tad. Because I want to be able to slam on the desk, which is the bottom of the screen, because I don't have a desk ready for use. So I need to be actually zoomed in and lower. Bam! 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 Bam, bam, bam. Objection! 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 There we go. Here we go. This is the proper thing. And I can just sort of like, this bad boy here, this can fit so many crimes. Yeah, great. Nom nom nom. Nom 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 nom. Witnesses, your names and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Ah, Soseki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student. Study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume. Yes, my lord. Sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken. That you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord. But close enough. Ugh. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court. Right you are, sir. Hey. Incident occurred at the Garadev household where the defendant had lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. Oh shit, strychnine. He's found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. The student then presumed that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Though the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. This man looks very much deceased. I'm trying to see... Was that puddle there when we saw it earlier? It's been a little bit. But that could indicate a gas leak. Could indicate any number of things, really. Also, that envelope piece wasn't there. Also, what's up with his fucking neck? Seriously, what is that? That's right, everyone present believed that's exactly what he was. Ah, there we go. My cravat, I need to fix it. Very well, I should accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. Crime scene photo was added. Let's take a look at that. Now then, Mr. Natsume. Oh, court record. Oh, what is it, Mr. Naruhodo? This bar of soap. When we first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in this depression, just here, a reddish one. Yes, you're right. I remember it too. But now the depression is completely empty. Where could the disc have gone? They're right. But what the fuck? This is still here. And still here. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the fuck is that? Something's up there. Is that the motherfucker was wearing a costume and it was a hanger? Also, the bricks weren't, I don't know. We'll see. Yes! As the defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture? They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits. Good gracious! What's haunted? My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me! What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times. Killed, Mr. Natsume? How? Even on that fateful night it happened. When I returned from Mr. Shakespeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed. But before long, the stove went out. And somebody tried to kill me! You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume. But it's so cold! My runny nose would freeze! The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. If I could raise one more point, my lord. One more conclusive point. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, has regained consciousness after his ordeal, and he has named the true culprit. Ugh. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. The accused? Good grief! Order! Order! Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Soseki-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation? That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shakespeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result! Never will I touch tea again! Never! The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection? None whatsoever, my lord. Good, then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now. Yes, my lord! Yes! It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. Ah, my tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guests left. The argument still stands. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward. Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless. Presumably, though, the teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they? Why didn't I think of that? Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear it correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance? How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't that the first thing you should have done? My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. Ugh, fix the damn... The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why? Simple enough, there was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. The The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. I see. Thank you. The matter is clear. Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure. The recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right. I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Ugh, okay. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Oh, my God. Oh. Alright, I need to press to see whether he drunk stuff. A literary debate. About Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare? Ah, very worthy topic of conversation, I must say. Oh, yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley. Romeo and Juliet? Who was stronger? I know I'm going to regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment. So we battled it out! In Greco-Roman style, naturally! What? Mr. Champspeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for just such a contest. Okay, I thought they were going to say they wrestled naked. You were actually in costume. He is Romeo, I is Juliet. After a vigorous, wild tussle, I as Juliet came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever! I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. He's too poor to have tea himself. I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with suspicion? My tea was harmless, of course it was! And do you have any basis for that statement, witness? Hold it! Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. Must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because 1 drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison. Can you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume? Yes, definitely! By heaven and earth, I swear it! Landlord was able to verify that, as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. And how is the landlord able to attest to this? He, said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Gadget seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Champspeare's room, I know that for certain! So he must have locked the door himself, from inside his room! The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes. So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless! If you take poison, you die! Everyone knows that! It's not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean? Huh. I can't speed through these options. Is it because I have the auto option on? Why is this off? Why is that not helping? Vibration, screen flashes, subtitles on, text skip. Either enable or disable the skipping of unread text from in the main game. Oh, unread text. Text skip off is good. Ah well, we'll see.
Hold it!
Hold it! How long does it take for symptoms to appear then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. And the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. There's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear, death by poisoning again. It's always so awful. 30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. Can't deny that. And it further degrades Soseki-san's alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. Spells it out really, the accused is the only person who could have done it. Ooh. Thank you for adding it to the court record. Let's take a look. Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. High likelihood of symptoms have been mixed with the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on the 21st of February. Interesting. Assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. But it also says... Not quite, because... What did you say before? I need to know the exact times. The defendant went back to his room at 11 that night.
Hold it!
But if he collapsed at 1:30, that means that the delayed onset of symptoms would have had to start at 1 a.m., not 11. This is what Mr. Natsume has been saying, isn't it? A pair of them drank tea together that night, so if there was poison in it, the victim wouldn't have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on. Exactly! Me and my tea are innocent! Sweet and innocent, I tell you! I'm afraid, sir, that doesn't follow. You see, strychnine is a slow-acting poison. In other words, it takes time for symptoms to appear. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. And as long as you did that, Mr. Shakespeare could have locked the door after you'd gone. But no! We drank tea straight away! The battle over whether Romeo or Juliet was stronger. That came after the tea. Do you have any evidence to support that statement? In my great homeland, the Empire of Japan, we have a saying. Drink tea while it's hot! Sure, a proverb will satisfy the prosecution. I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, there are sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter. No! That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Naruto. Of course, go ahead. Mr. Natsume is arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently. Yet Inspector Gregson just brushes what he says aside. It's really quite infuriating. I agree. So we need to find an inconsistency in what the inspector is saying, I think. I'm afraid so. As things stand, the jurors are sure to find Mr. Natsume guilty. There we go. Let's see. Let's just press here just to be safe and make sure we have all the information. Were you and your neighbor good friends then? No! We weren't friends! Not at all! Not at all! Never, ever! A simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Champster fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now, no Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature. And on the night in question, Van Zieks was being really racist, I presume? Yes. It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I just arrived back at my lodgings, when I ran into Mr. Champster outside on the street. That was at around 6 o'clock. We exchanged one or two pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No! Not one, not two, not any! Not at all! Never, ever! A simple no would have sufficed, I feel. And tell the court what did happen when you visited the victim's room. No, it doesn't. And you know why? You know why? Because, take that. Yeah, that was right. The argument still stands, you say. I think not, Inspector. Come again? I think you'll find that you've overlooked a very significant chronological inconsistency here. A chrono what? What are you on about? Why, I oughta. According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Ah! Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours after the defendant left? Wah! The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zieks? Yep. Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon. How could it have happened, you ask? Shh. I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30.
Objection!
Objection! Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor, and in Japan there is a well-known saying. Drink tea while it's hot!
Objection!
And in my country there is an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea. The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned, other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, counsel? Well, for example, a man could have had another visitor. Another visitor? It's a very bold assertion, my learned friend. From someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, counsel.
Objection!
Mr. Champster has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted.
Objection!
Objection! But he could be lying! Is something wrong, Lord Van Zieks? I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray, forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Hold it! Out! Out What brief candle? Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Who, sir, are you? William Shakespeare, my lord. Alas, 'twas I, undone by these bitter events. I am the victim. What's he doing here? The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand. With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed. You're calling him as a witness? Very well, counsel. I grant your request with interest. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself. Happy am I, Shakespeare, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord. But, I still have my own tale to tell, my own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with the tale of my perfect innocence, in perfect English. That will do, Mr. Natsume. Let the court now hear from the victim. Very interesting. Alright, so that's Mr. Shakespeare. But who's that other man beside him? Yes, I feel sure that we caught a glimpse of that man before. State your names and occupations to the court, please, witnesses. A writer of words so sweet they do scent the breeze, an inventor of ideas so profound they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe, William Shakespeare. Would the great bard be recalled to life in you? Lo, what a magnificent man. Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shakespeare. Oh, name's Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. I work for our Altamont Gas Company, East End Branch Office. Sorry, what's his name? Adrian B. Adrian B. Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. I'm trying to figure out what the pun is. What's the pun in his name? Adrian B. Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman. A drain? I don't know. Altamont Gas Company, East End Branch Office. Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday on Briar Road. Oh yes, she's right. It's him. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? It looks like he's trying to sneak into Soseki-san's lodgings. There's something wrong with Naruto. Excuse me, could we have a word? Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garadep's house that morning. He's a gas company employee. What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shakespeare, you're the victim in this miserable affair, correct? Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? That sweet poison that didst cross me, and cross mine innocent lips. I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any room for doubt from the jurors' minds, I'm sure. Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me is a seraph, an angel indeed. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be. Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all. The jurors seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid. You're actually taking the serif anagram idea seriously? Thank you, witness, for your illuminating introductions. But my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shamsbury doing here? The gas man, I mean. What? Me? Well now. Allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence? When you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question. And moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar. What? No, I didn't quite say that. This young chin-stroker here is to convert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman? Hang on. No, I'm just here. I hereby call for your formal testimonies. You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question. One may smile, and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken. The truth of that wintry night of my discontent. The snow lay about. My neighbour did cometh in the evening, bearing a gift of tea. But marry, bitter was his drink, and when he left, I did fall prostrate on my table. 'Twas the tea alone did pass my lips that late hour, not else. I was outside this bloke's window in the freezing cold all night, keeping an eye on his room. No one else visited his room but that short little round-backed Eastern fella. Why were you outside his room all night? Wait, what did you say? You were keeping an eye on Mr. Shamspeare's room all night? That's right. Of course, the bloke's window's all but blocked up, isn't it? But there's a little gap in the bricks where you can see into the room. So I spent the night trying to keep my teeth from chattering as I peered in through that. The question is, sir, why? Well now, that's because he's on my list. What a piece of work is a man! Wherefore wouldst thou not stare in wonderment? What are you talking about? This buzzing busybody hath not part in this play. I pray thee, pay him no heed, make no more ado about his tedious words. What'd you say about me? Calm yourself. This court is concerned with what happened on the night in question. Nothing more. Indeed, that is so. And as the testimony we have just heard clearly reveals, there was no one other than the accused present at the time who could have carried out this crime. Take that. No, it ain't. Not even close. Yes, my lord. The snow lay about, my neighbour did cometh in the evening bearing a gift of tea. My neighbour, you are referring to the defendant, Mr. Natsume. Oh, indeed, sire. Perchance thou wouldst that I call him the man from upstairs? And at what time did the mustachioed Nipponese visit you in your room? Our meeting was promised for the hour of 9, and lo did he come to tender a gift of fragrant tea. Details which are in accordance with the defendant's own testimony, yes. And we were broiled in such a literary debate as history hath not seen before. By which I presume he means the discussion about who was the stronger, Romeo or Juliet. I, Shamspeare, did play the part of young Romeo, whilst my neighbour played the fair Juliet. Each of us dressed as would our characters be, to bring weight upon our merry experiment. I dare not imagine the scene. Frailty, thy name is woman. Canst thou imagine how dismayed I was? Yes, I had heard of the Eastern art of jiu-jitsu, but ne'er did I dream 'twould be a skill practiced by the comely maiden. Juliet beat Romeo up? This is not helping our case. I believe the court has heard enough about your earth-shattering literary debate. Perhaps you could reiterate your statement about the tea? You know, the thing. My liege, I am thy servant. Gladly I would do thy bidding. But marry, bitter was his drink, and when I left I did fall prostrate on my table. Let me stop you there. I understand Natsumi left your room at 11 o'clock, but it wasn't until after 2 that the poison made you collapse. That amounts to more than 3 hours of missing time. Sorry, I just got a vibe with this guy. The defendant had really put the poison into your tea. The 3-hour window of time is something you're going to have to explain. Gladly, 'tis an easy task. What? I did drink of the tea not while my guest didst tarry, but after he took leave of me. Faith, 'twas stone cold, but at 1 hour post midnight very were my lips parched.
Objection!
Objection! That doesn't sound normal. Nay, 'tis quite ordinary, sire, after all. Thou wouldst recall our fiery debate. Amid such argument, there'd be no time for fiery tea. Romeo and Juliet again. And who was stronger? Mr. Shamspeare, in summary, allow me to confirm. Did you not come here with the intention of naming your attacker? But of course, my liege. 'Twas a stooped lover of words did attempt to shuffle me off this mortal coil. Ugh, we all know what that means.
Hold it!
So, you didn't have any kind of evening meal? Dinner? Supper? Ha! Fie on luxury! Fie on gluttony! To eat thrice daily is but a waste of time! Sorry? I would that my belly were full! No more often than the sun doth rise! Well, most heroic eating habits, I must say. Night and day do I fill my hours with learned study of the great bard and playwright. Hence is it that there doth not in my chamber be that than the costumes of mine art. That would appear to be the case, as even a rodent was found starved to death in your room. Now I think of it, it's not just food that was conspicuously missing from that room, is it? I don't recall seeing a single play or script anywhere. For I have devoured them all. You've eaten them? Every word be within my skull. Didst thou imagine otherwise? Right, that wasn't misleading at all. Now, could you turn around, do you think? Which brings us to the conclusion that the only way the poison could have passed the victim's lips is in the tea. Ah. I was outside this bloke's window at the freezing cold. Oh, no.
Hold it!
A historical artifact of the now defunct window tax. Yeah, you're right. They are all bricked up horribly. But as it happens, there's a little part of the brickwork at the bottom corner that's been opened up. I was looking in through that gap. Yes, there were a few bricks loose, weren't there? And for some strange reason, a couple of bars of soap lined up on the ledge outside as well. I don't like going around poking my chin in other people's business, especially on freezing cold nights. But them's my orders, so that's what I'll keep doing. As long as there's breath in my body. What's with all the theatricals today? Out of interest, Mr. Meterman. After the accused had left and returned to his own lodgings, did you see the victim leave the room at all? No, he never left. He was in that room the whole time as far as I'm concerned. And we can therefore discount the possibility of suicide. How can you be sure of that? The police carried out a thorough investigation of the scene and found no receptacle for the poison. And since we know the victim didn't leave his room, and hence didn't dispose of the poison container himself, it's clear that this was no attempted suicide. Only the culprit could have removed the receptacle. Ah, yes. Lucidly explained, counsel. Thank you. It really was. You can't argue with the logic.
Hold it!
You say a short little round-back Eastern fella. So you can't be sure it was the defendant then.
Objection!
How many other short little round-back Nipponese with a mustache do you think there are in London? Well, of course, it's only a narrow gap and it was quite dark, so I didn't notice the mustache. But he showed up at around 9, so I'm pretty sure of it myself. And when the person you saw arrived, did he and Mr. Champier drink tea together? Nah, sorry. I couldn't say. Why not? Because I couldn't see into the room all that well, could I? But what I did see was the silhouette of that little round-backed fella wearing a pretty dress. Then the pair of them started some kind of wrestling match. I tell you, I didn't know what to make of it. I suppose that was the Romeo and Juliet championship battle getting underway. Mr. Meterman, allow me to confirm one final time. Apart from the accused, can you state with certainty that no one else visited the victim on the night in question? No question. Gasman's honor. Hold it! Oh. Ah, damn it. My lord! Goodness me. Yes, Mr. Foreman? Mr. Bruce Fairbanks? I've kept my mouth shut and listened up to now, but this has gone on long enough. Are you all with me? Yes! Are we to understand that you ladies and gentlemen of the jury are in agreement with one another? That you've reached a unanimous decision? Too right we have! Are you all with me? Yes! Wait, no! The defense is in the middle of a cross-examination. To be honest, I was holding out a bit of hope for you, young man. Especially after you identified those few hours that followed the accused leaving the victim's room. Yes, 3 missing hours as you put it. But in the end, what difference do they make? None as far as I can see. And since that's now apparent, there's really no reason to delay our decision any longer. Like I was saying before, if I don't take 5 bomb home... What's that? Sorry, I didn't quite catch what you said. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leadings as defendants to culpability.
Guilty.
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 Guilty. Guilty. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guilty, 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 guilty. I fear the jury is indeed unanimous. So, this time at last, it seems justice will be done. All's well that ends well, as they say. This calls for a toast, I feel. To the guilty being punished. Wah! Get it, Miss Naharno, please. Your trial isn't over yet. What do you mean, Mrs. Sato? What about the information I found in this Encyclopedia of British Law I have? That obscure right that belongs to the defense in these situations. Remember? I remember the summation examination. A summation examination. Yes, that's right. We don't have a jury in Japanese courts, of course, but here in a British court of law, if we can reverse the decisions of the majority of the jurors, we can force the trial to continue. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Summation examination. Whatever it takes. I just can't let that happen. Why am I not surprised at my learned Nipponese friend's inability to admit defeat? You choose to cling desperately to some archaic rule you barely comprehend instead of accepting the truth. Certainly no other defense counsel in recent times has exercised the right to a summation examination, because they all know that once the jury's mind is set, it cannot be altered. Nevertheless, the right remains and must be upheld. The defense counsel's request is granted. This court will proceed with the summation examination, as outlined in the Encyclopedia of British Law. Thank you, my lord. Are you and your fellows prepared, Mr. Foreman? Believe me, my lord, we know all about this young lad's tenacity, and we're ready for it. Very well. In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby call upon each of you to state the grounds upon which you find the defendant guilty of the crime for which he stands accused. There we go. I got it. Victor may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up. There's no reason to doubt the man. Well, I do declare the good gentleman has no reason to lie. In fact, I think he's rather splendid. Just look at the accused by comparison. He's Japanese, stoops all the while, and has a mustache. Very fishy. There's no evidence to suggest the gangling actor is a fraudsman, for now at least. I really don't care, I just need this trial to end quickly. 3 hours of missing time is nothing when you reach my age, you know. Nothing at all. I knew it. Every single one of them seems completely convinced. It would seem that all the jurors have come to the conclusion that Mr. Shakespeare is a fine, upstanding, and honest citizen. If you ask me, they've all been bewitched by his strange theatrical movements. And sadly, nothing Mr. Natsume has said appears to have registered at all. Well, here goes. Let's not forget. I've pleaded with the jury on Soseki-san's behalf before, and it worked. So you never know. No, I know how it works. Now, no need! I know what I'm doing. Thank you for the kind offer, Mr. Sato. But I've been through plenty of these summation examinations already now. I think it's important that we don't delay the start any longer than necessary. Of course, I understand. And I'm quite sure you're right. If you're confused by anything at any point, you can turn to me for advice whenever you like. I'll be here for you. The key to this is really listening carefully to each juror's statement, finding two that are contradictory, and pitting the corresponding jurors against each other. Ugh. Ugh. Yes, my lord. Victor may not be well off, but he's a noble man and straight up.
Hold it!
Well, there are plenty of people in London who seem noble but poor. Couldn't some of them also be liars? I've no doubt about it. Like that shaky client of yours, for example. Absolutely not. Mr. Natsume is no liar. Look, the point is, the only thing that passed the victim's lips that night was that Japanese man's tea. When you take the gas man's testimony into account as well, the truth couldn't be any clearer. Well, that's alarmingly logical. But let me be frank here. I'm a gentleman with a gentleman's values. If it turns out that the odd Shakespearean chum is a rotten liar after all, I'd gladly change my decision about the defendant. And I'm sure my fellow gentlemen on the jury would do the same. Isn't that right? Well, yes, perhaps. Though I don't see it happening. What's that? Elderly gent in the end here, you know? You'll have to speak up. Look, I really don't care about all this nonsense. How many gentlemen do we actually have on the jury, then? Alright, sir. I may hold you to that. Don't forget what you said. Alright, if you show me that the victim's a liar, I'll reconsider my position.
Hold it!
You think he's rather splendid? Are you saying you believe the man to be trustworthy because he's rather splendid? No, that's not what I said. The point is, the man is the victim here. What reason would he have to lie? And yes, he is rather splendid. So you say, yet again. Meanwhile, the man who stands accused behaves so suspiciously it's exhausting to look at him. I'm afraid he's not splendid at all. Splendid logic there, madam. Thank you so much.
Hold it!
No, not one of those things is a reason to find the man guilty. But he is fishy, there's no point dancing around the fact. He's Japanese, he has a mustache, and he stoops. You see, you arrive at the conclusion in just 3 steps. 3 steps like a waltz, in fact. You know, the more I think about it, the more this trial seems like a dance. You seem to be several steps ahead of yourself, though. And you're on the wrong foot. No, there's nothing but circumstantial evidence here. There's no actual proof of the defendant's guilt. But the victim's version of events is backed up by what the big chin man next to him says, isn't it? 1, he saw the Japanese man there. 2, he saw no one else. And 3, he saw the Japanese man there. Oh. That's another 3 steps. All this really does seem more and more like a waltz, doesn't it? Right, and the prosecution will waltz its way to victory if I let you speak much more.
Hold it!
A fraudsman? What do you mean by that, madam? It really is a most tiresome problem for the company. Most irritating. We can be absolutely certain that a customer is stealing from us, but without hard evidence. We can't even threaten to take action for fear of being sued. I'm sorry, you've lost me a little there. Who are you? I'm the wife of Augustus Altamont, owner of the Altamont Gas Company. Good gracious, Altamont Gas, you say? Gas is the future of energy in this country and around the globe, where proper handling is essential. As I'm sure our employee from the East End branch office would be the first to agree. Absolutely, Lady Quinby, gotta be used properly! Altamont Gas is the best in the world, of course! Ah, I think we may have solved the mystery of the bow from earlier, Mr. Naruto. Right, he bowed in deference to his employer's wife, did he? Ah, so, would I be right in assuming that the reason Mr. Meanerman was watching what Mr. Shamsky was up to in his room? I'm afraid that there's no end to the lengths the population of the East End will go to in order to steal our gas. So I really have no choice when the company identifies somebody as a possible fraudsman, but to dispatch a worker to watch the suspect day and night. We're very thorough in our investigations. So you mean Mr. Shakespeare is... I wouldn't come out and say it in public. But you can finish that sentence with a grubby little gas thief! You have noticed the public gallery in here, have you? The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Faith, wouldst thou wound me with thy words? Let them penetrate the skin, were I to let it penetrate the skin, but seraphs hear not insults, only choirs of angels in song. We may not have evidence yet, but my workers won't stop buzzing around you until they find it. And when they do, you'll find yourself blasted back to your angelic heights in an Altamont gas explosion. So Mr. Champster has been stealing gas. I wonder, juror number 4, if you wouldn't mind adding that information to your statement. My pleasure. Was it the bit about ripping that thief apart you enjoyed? A little before the part about abject violence, if it's not too much trouble. Fine, whatever. I guess I won't kill him in violence.
Objection!
Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! 2 statements do you refer, counsel? Juror number 1. Eh? What are you yelling about, lad? I presume you've heard juror number 4's statement, made by the wife of the owner of Altamont Gas? Well, yes. The victim, who you claim to be a noble, straight-up man, in fact turns out to be a common thief. So the good lady says, but there's no evidence, is there? You and I both heard them say as much. It's true, we don't have evidence as such, just yet. But the claims aren't baseless, you know. What? You heard me. Seeing as his operation has already been compromised, I would suggest that the court hears testimony from our East End branch office employee over there. I'll do whatever you say, my lady. Gasman's honor. Juror number 1, you say you're a man of your word? Ugh. If I could show that Mr. Shamspeare was a liar, you assured me that you would reconsider your decision about the defendant's guilt. Yes, I did say that. And as a man of honor, I'll hold to it. As I'm sure the other gentlemen of the jury will. Me? Oh, well, yes. Now that we've found out the man's a liar, perhaps we ought to consider the matter further. Well, if I'm perfectly honest, I haven't heard half of what you've all been saying. So if this means you'll recap a few points, that would suit me down to the ground. Oh no, I'm not having any part of this. I want this trial over and done with. In that case, I shall change my leaning. So, Mr. William Shamspeare, if that is your real name, we of the jury demand to know exactly what kind of a man you really are. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 jurors, 4 for not guilty. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Victory! Ora! Ora! As a result of the defense summation examination, the jury's leaning has changed. Now only 2 jurors say guilty, whilst 4 say not guilty, and therefore declare this court to be in a state of disaccord, and order the trial to continue. You have spoilt the bouquet, Mr. Shamspear. I'm sorry. Here with you I cannot. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury now find they are unable to trust you, the victim. I'm sorry. See with you I cannot. But you gods will give us some faults to make us men. So God mend me. I do swear. This gasman speaketh that which concerns him most, not but gas, not but thin air. It burneth bright a while, but it hath no substance, and it doth reek foul. Oi! What did you say? Do I take it, Mr. Shamspear, that you deny the allegations of gas thievery? Most heartily, my lord. Hast thou forgot? I am as a seraph, an angel. Noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily, honest of heart. Ah, you flowery-mouthed pompous beanpole. Just because I haven't got the evidence yet. Mr. Shamspear, if in fact you are not noble of mind, sweet of nature, and or honest of heart, if you are a liar, then your testimony shouldn't have no sway in this courtroom. It is my considered opinion that at the present time no other possible culprit of this crime has been identified. All testimony heard by the court thus far heavily implicates the defendant. In short, it would not be unreasonable at this stage for me to rule on the case. Oh no. However, in light of the fact that the jury has expressed concern about the fidelity of this witness, I believe it would be inappropriate for this court not to pursue the point further.
Objection.
I assure you, my lord, that would be a waste of the court's time. The gas in this case are unrelated. Juror number 4. Yes? Didn't you say before that although you had no hard evidence to prove this man had been stealing gas, you have strong grounds for suspecting him? That's right, we do. Don't we, worker? Absolutely, Lady Quinby. Oh! A drone bee meterman is a bee, and she's the queen bee. Very well, then, we will hear your testimony now. You will tell the court precisely why you believe the victim, Mr. William Shamspear, has been stealing gas. In the meantime, let's check the court record. It's still gone. Okay. That's still there, and it's not missing. That's there. Have I not investigated this? Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament, and judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mr. Sato! I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo! Never! Yes, my lord, it'll be my pleasure. On the Altamont gas name, I swear... If I may, my lord. Go ahead, madam. This worker's testimony may have a significant bearing on the good name of my husband's company. Therefore, I should like to take the stand alongside him in a supervisory role, if you wouldn't mind. Woohoo! Oh yeah, sweet as honey! Yeah! Very well, as an exception, I shall honor your request. Thank you, my lord. You wait till the boss gives you an earful. Oh, it's gonna sting, you mark my words! So you'll both testify before the court on the subject of the illegal consumption of the Altamont Gas Company's fuel. Yes. Is that clear, my good man? Clear as Altamont gas, my lady. Whatcha, which is the clearest in the world? Do you think the gas has gone to his head, Mr. Sato? I think the man is just a very dedicated employee, Mr. Naruto. Witness testimony. I'm proud to be the company's East End branch investigator and meter money collection agent. Altamont gas meters accept threepenny bits. Each coin giving customers about 2 hours of gorgeous gas. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key. Somehow he's using all the flaming gas he wants without paying a penny. If that's not thieving, what is? Oh, interesting. The soap is... they're molds so that he can make coins and then get them out. Ice! They're ice! Because it's so cold that stuff gets frozen. And that's why the soap is in the outside. And that's why it just melted. Even though it said it was like a red thing, there might have just been the tea, or it might have been something else. But it just melted. It just melted, and that's why there's a puddle underneath the gas meter. I've got it! I figured out the problem. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, let's go! Did the mustachioed Nipponese poison the gangling excuse for an actor, or didn't he? That is all that should concern this court. And yet, now we must listen to this abhorrence. Clearly what separates the vast British Empire and your Eastern Island nation is more than geographical distance. But this could turn out to be crucial testimony. The cross-examination must go ahead. Do what you will. Lord Van Zeeks appears to be in a violent mood. Yes, he does. An attempted poisoning and an incident of gas theft with no supporting evidence. It's true that they would appear completely unrelated at first glance, but I wonder. Truth tends to be buried in the most unusual places, and the first step in uncovering it will be to establish just who and what this man really is. I'm gonna reach out and grab the truth. I'm gonna reach out and grab you.
Hold it!
So all London houses that have a gas supply are fitted with these gas meters, are they? They're the latest model, the height of technology, developed by our company, Altamont Gas. And anyone who uses our gas will have one of these meters in their property, yes. So if a threepence coin gives 2 hours of gas, most people would use about 3 coins a night. A bit more than that usually, if they have both gas lights and a gas stove, that is. Thinking about it, Soseki-san doesn't have a fireplace in that room of his, does he? Some people still choose to use candles, of course, and only have gas for heating. Ah yes, I do remember seeing candles in Natsume's room, actually. And how does the money in the meter get back to you at the gas company? Every 3 days, gasmen like me visit properties on the gas supply and empty the meter of coins. I must say, the design and manufacture of the new meter cost the company an awful lot of money. But happily, it did put a stop to people not paying their dues, for the most part. Ah, because they have to pay in advance, you mean? Yes, exactly right. And if the meter Mr. Champ's room didn't have a single coin in it.
Hold it!
Interesting. Weeks and weeks, he's been pinching gas off us for ages. You've examined the meter in Mr. Champ's room, I take it. Naturally, we took it off the wall and went over it with a fine-tooth comb. And found nothing suspicious at all, I presume. No, I'm afraid we didn't. Which is exactly why I demanded a new type of meter to be produced. One with an indestructible lock. The Shamspeare Special! That sounds like it would have cost an awful lot of 3-penny pieces. But even after all that, the rascal's meter was still empty. I'll never forget the humiliation. when I opened up the money box and found it bare. You what? I said. You what? And the look on his face, that smarmy smile of his. I pulled the meter straight off the wall and took it back to the office. But you know what? Nothing. Not a trace of it being jimmied open anywhere, not a single sign! And what's happening to my salary as a result? Down by 3 shillings a day, that's what! A life-threatening situation in a number of ways. Incidentally, what became of that meter? Nothing became of it. I've still got it. Oh. Right here! Why do they call you meter? No wonder they call you meterman. I think it would be prudent for the court to sequester this item while the trial is ongoing. A strong lock with Shamspeare specifically in mind. Well, let's take a look. Let's examine it. Eh? Oh, what's this? Have you spotted something, Mr. Naruhodo? Just here. There's a little hole. Do you see? Goodness, you're right. I wouldn't have noticed. It's not a very neat hole, is it? Not professionally made, I'd say. So you think it might have been opened up by Mrs. Shamspeare? Possibly. It seems the people at Altamont must have missed it. Well, it certainly seems to go all the way through to the inside. Yes, but there's no way a coin could fit through there. That's true, but even so, it's more than a little suspicious. Yeah, there we go. Yep, it's ice and it's melting. Or it's soap wax or something. Let's move this along, shall we? Continue with your testimony. Though I would say it has as much value as the contents of that meter. Oof. The meter doesn't appear to have been tampered with, though, and the collection agent has the only key.
Objection.
It does appear to be tampered with, you fucking idiots! I'm afraid to say... Yep. That this meter clearly does show signs of having been tampered with. What? Get away! I've been over and over that thing! I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it. In that case, what do you have to say about the small hole that's been made at the base of the coin box? Hole? What? You're right! You're quite right! There is a little hole there. The meters aren't supposed to have that! None of the others do! In other words, we can assume that Mr. Shamspeare secretly opened up this hole himself. Yes, I wouldn't be at all surprised. But why? Yeah, why? I mean, it's tiny. You couldn't get a farthing through that. Lady Altamont, I wonder if you could give the court some more details about your meter design. What sort of details? Well, what I'd specifically like to know is how it differentiates coins. How does the meter tell the difference between different coins? What do you mean? Well, for example, if someone were to put in a 1-penny coin, that wouldn't work presumably, would it? No, of course not. So, well, how does the meter know that the coin it's been fed is a threepenny bit? Ah, I see what you're getting at now. The meter tells coins apart by their shape and size, which includes their thickness. A threepenny bit is about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, you see. Other coins just won't fit. Ah, I see. It's clearly been very well thought out. The witness will amend her formal testimony with that information in case it is pertinent. As you wish, my lord. The meter is designed for coins the exact diameter and thickness of a threepenny bit. Nothing else will fit. But that also means... or 3/4 of an inch. Ah! Do you think? We did find this soap at the scene, didn't we? Yes, yes, there were 2 bars on that little ledge just outside the window. So we took this one. But I'm sure that when we first found it, there was some sort of reddish medallion in the middle there. I remember it clearly. Yes, but there's no sign of it now. Where could it have gone? Now we got the updated, that it's about 2 centimeters in diameter.
Objection.
Objection! Let me just confirm something here. If the diameter and thickness were to be correct, The meter would accept any object as if it were a threepenny bit. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Well, by something of a coincidence, while we were investigating in Mr. Shamspeare's room, we found a particular item that matches the dimensions perfectly. Something the same size as the threepenny bit? What was it? The item in question is this! What? Have you been inhaling gas? That's a bar of soap! It certainly looks nothing like a threepenny bit, I must say. Yeah. What's so important about the soap is this part here.
Got it!
You have to turn over the soap to see what I mean. Ah! Are you referring to that round depression in the middle of the soap there? That's right, a depression that's approximately 3/4 of an inch in diameter. 3/4. Or in other words, almost exactly the same size as a threepenny bit. Get away! Does anyone here have in their present possession a threepenny bit? Quickly now, hand over your coins, ladies and gentlemen. It sounds rather like a highway robbery, doesn't it? Thanks to a kind member of the public in the gallery, I have here a threepenny bit. Now, to see if it fits. My word, it couldn't be more snug! Yes, as I suspected. This, without a doubt, is a vital clue to explain how the Altamont gas company is being defrauded. Well, I don't believe it! So, your assertion amounts to what? That some inferior bar of soap has a tentative connection to the theft of gas? Yes! The depression in the soap was clearly made by a threepenny bit. I must concur, at least, that pushing a coin with some force into a poor quality bar of soap such as this is a remarkably simple way of replicating the coin's shape. And then you could use, well, some melted wax or something to pour into the mold. You could make fake coins in no time! This brings all the pieces of the puzzle together regarding how the Altamont Gas Company is being defrauded, not the murder. And now, if I follow the chain of thought, it's going to bring me to a new explanation for what happened that nobody's considered yet. But this is all nonsense! If the man had been making fake coins, my worker here would have found them when he emptied the meter. Quite true, Lady Altamont. In the absence of some black magic that could make them disappear... I see. That's what we're dealing with, is it? There is one form of black magic that could cause the fake coins to disappear into thin air, yes. Exactly, and the meter here gives it away. What on earth? There are remnants of the magical method used visible on the gas meter taken from the victim's room. If that is your assertion, Counsel, the defense will identify those remnants for the court at once. Well, it's the hole. It's the hole. We found this bar of soap at the scene of the crime, just outside the victim's window. Outside? Yes, outside, where you yourself, Mr. Meterman, were loitering, in the freezing winter air. That's where we found this soap. Ah! I get it! That's right. The answer, of course, is ice. Did you say ice? Mr. Shamspeare has been leaving soaps like this outside his window each evening, filled with water. After a night outside in the bitter cold, the water is completely frozen solid the next morning. Then he takes his fake coins of ice and feeds them into the gas meter, giving him light and warmth in spades. As his room becomes very comfortably warm, the ice now inside the meter's coin box melts, turning back into water, and draining harmlessly away through the small hole made in the underside of the meter. That is how, without leaving any evidence of his wrongdoing, this man has been stealing Altamont gas! Just like that, so simply, Is he trying to make us look like idiots? He's been fooling us all with some bars of soap and some water. That's right, madam. I don't believe it. It can't be true. Do you have any idea how much money we spent to develop that new meter? And now you have the audacity to suggest that a bit of soap and some water can render it totally useless? I'm fairly sure I didn't design it. Evidence! Sorry? I want evidence. If you're going to stand there and tell me our meters are rubbish, I want to see proof! She's very good at enforcing accountability, isn't she? Very well, Lady Altamont. If you'd like evidence, I'll provide it. This is the picture with the puddle underneath it. Miss Naruhodo, are you saying you do actually have evidence to support this theory? I did notice a trace of something that bothered me a little at the time. And I have a feeling that this theory we've come up with now could explain it. Piece of evidence that substantiates the theory about how Miss Chancellor has been stealing gas is the crime scene photo.
Take that!
This is a photograph of the scene at the point when the victim was discovered, taken by Inspector Gregson. And it clearly shows the remnants of the crime carried out by Mr. Shamspear. What remnants? Here you can see the gas meter on the wall in Mr. Shamspear's room. Now, look closely at the floorboards directly underneath the meter. What is that? Some kind of grubby stain? Almost certainly, it's water stain resulting from the liquid that drained out of the hole made in the meter. Ah! If one coin gives around 2 hours of gas usage and the occupant was heating his room in all his waking hours, we can imagine he would have used around 10 of his fake coins each day. The melting ice inside the meter's coin box would have been dripping out almost constantly, leaving a stain on the floor. This is awful! And there's further evidence, too. Mr. Shamspear slumped over his table, apparently having consumed strychnine. And right there next to him is a bar of soap broken in half. You're right. It would appear to me, then, Counsel, that the man was eating the soap, was he? Pardon me for disagreeing with your lordship, but, fucking no. Certainly not. He didn't beat about the bush there, did he? In truth, Mr. Chancellor was found with a fork in his hand. A meal of soap is sounding increasingly likely, Lord Van Zeeks. Do you mean to say he was using that fork to... Yes. To extract a frozen coin from the bar of soap. Ah! But the bar broke in half. So perhaps it didn't go very well. Good gracious! Lord Van Zeeks! I was throwing my hand up in despair, and happened to catch my hollowed bottle on the way. Pray forgive my maladroit mistake. What is the meaning of this, Counsel? Allow me to pose my learned friend a question. What exactly did you establish with your most recent cross-examination? Well, that Mr. William Shamspear is a liar and a thief. In other words, that his testimony is unreliable. That's it. That's exactly it. Very well, let us assume the man is a liar. Now, allow me to pose another question. What possible difference does that make? Well, we know that suicide can be discounted. Scotland Yard's investigation revealed no sign of another vessel that contained poison. And on the night in question, there were no visitors to the room except the accused. The young gasman's testimony, which we have no reason to doubt, has confirmed that. Furthermore, the only possible way the poison could have entered the victim's body is via the tea. The court has seen no evidence whatsoever that suggests otherwise. Ugh. Even if William Shamspear is the liar you claim him to be, these facts have been objectively established. There's no escaping it. Oh! Therefore, in light of these facts, prosecution calls for immediate adjudication. You... No! Order! Order! Well, counsel, how does the defense respond? Miss Nara, no. I'm sleepy. What was the point of that last cross-examination? Did it actually get us anywhere? Or did it make no difference at all, like Lord Van Zieks is saying? No, raise an objection. No, this isn't over. The defense will not rest. What? But, counsel, you've successfully explained everything. You've identified and substantiated the unscrupulous method employed by Mr. Shamsbury to consume gas. What more is there to discuss? Lord Van Zieks just highlighted 3 facts in order to make his point. But contrary to what he would have the court believe, not all of them have objectively established at all. What are you trying to say, my Nepalese friend? At least one of those so-called facts is an assumption, made due to a lack of evidence. Ugh. But the situation has changed now, following the cross-examination of the latest witnesses to take the stand. Don't be absurd. What is this nonsense? Ugh, I'm so edgy. There's a question that we now need to reconsider, namely, was the poison in the tea? We've all been led to believe that the strychnine poison that afflicted Mr. Shamsbury was in the tea brought to him by Mr. Natsume, but that's conjecture at best.
Objection!
The victim has testified that nothing else passed his lips that night. There is no other possibility. And since there was no trace of the tea left at the scene, it couldn't be tested for traces of the poison. Objection! As I said, the situation has changed, because in fact, some of Mr. Natsume's tea was left at the scene, and a particular piece of evidence proves it.
Objection!
A ludicrous claim. Scotland Yard detectives investigated that scene exhaustively. What evidence are you suggesting they missed? The defense has made a bold claim indeed. He used... The water pipe was frozen, so he used the tea to make the coins. I mean, unless it's in the gas meter. Let's just save really quickly. I think it's the soap.
Take that!
Good gracious! The soap again? The same bar the victim used to fashion his coins of ice? Yes, that's right, my lord. It's just come back to me. Something about when we first found this bar of soap at the scene yesterday. It's more bars of soap. Soap, what are the bars of soap doing lined up on a ledge outside the window? I'm quite certain that when we originally stumbled upon the bars of soap, there was actually a frozen coin in each bar. So you discovered the gas thief's coin factory. Fascinating. In a way, yes, but there's more. The coins we found in the soap at the time weren't normal ice. There was something strange about them, you mean? Exactly. Something very obviously strange. They were red. The ice was red? No! You mean... Oh! It's obvious to me now. The fake coins in the soap were made from frozen tea! What? I would remind the court of a statement made by Mr. Natsume earlier in this trial. That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamsbury's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. Ah, yes, I believe there had been a snowfall that day. It was particularly cold. Sadly, on such occasions, the poorly constructed water mains in the East End are prone to freezing. So on the night in question, Mr. Shamspeare, having no running water to use, was forced to use the tea brought by Mr. Natsumi in order to make his fake coins. Ah! My word! There were 2 bars of soap on the window ledge when my judicial assistant and I investigated the scene. That's right, and we only borrowed 1 of them. Which means that even as we speak, some of the defendant's tea is still present at the scene of the crime, frozen solid in a bar of soap outside Mr. Shamspeare's window. Extraordinary! Earlier today, Inspector Gregson informed the court that if even 1 drop of the tea remained, Scotland Yard would be able to analyze it for poison. As such, we are now in a position to prove or disprove what has until now been mere conjecture, by finding out for sure whether or not Mr. Natsumi's tea actually contains strychnine at all. Ah, you smug Nipponese. I'm so racist! It's unreal! My lord, we cannot do the defendant the injustice of passing judgment now. The police should be dispatched to recover the remaining bar of soap from the scene at once. And the defense requests a thorough analysis of the frozen tea embedded in it, to determine whether or not it contains any poison. Bailiff! Bailiff! Whack his pee-pee! Yes, my lord, understood. Yep. It would seem we have no choice but to suspend these proceedings for the time being. I trust you have no objection, Lord Van Zeeks? None, my lord. Scotland Yard will recover the tea from the scene and carry out the requisite tests immediately. Trial will resume at the same hour tomorrow. The prosecution and defense may conduct further investigations as appropriate in the interim. Yes, my lord! Well, we managed to scrape through there somehow, Scoob. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned until tomorrow. Wah-bang! Wah-bang! And take that. To be continued. Nah. Nah. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-da-da. Alright, what do you think? 1 more hour? I think I can knock out the investigation if I get another hour. But I'd also like to get a drink, so we're gonna BRB. Give me just a second to set that up. And start some music in the interim. Some lo-fi beats, for which you can study and or relax to. And for the record, for everybody listening, it is moral and valid to steal from public utilities. All right, I'll be back shortly. Alright, I'm back. Hello. I'm back. But I did want to subject everyone to drink getting ASMR. Oh, I guess I can also do drink getting the actual live hand experience as well. Hello, these are my hands. I'm reaching for the Coca-Cola. I need to be careful because it's kind of hard to keep tracking. Ah, quite good. Alright, now we rotate over, get the thing. Oh yes, quite delectable. What a joyous sound. The sound of Coca-Cola entering a glass of ice. A sound that has been used by commercials for centuries. A single century. Kind of. A little bit. TV wasn't around that long. Oh man. That tracks really well. I'm surprised. Somebody clip that. Coca-Cola highlights. Sponsored. Sponsor me. I'll take a Coke sponsorship. Damn, I don't care. I'll play Coca-Cola themed video games exclusively for a month if I got a Coca-Cola sponsorship. My god. I have morals, but I will drop them in an instant if I got Coca-Cola money. Like, theoretically, based on my morals, I should hate Coke. It's terrible, and their company is responsible for so many atrocities throughout, like, the entire world. But it do taste good, though. It do be tasty. It do be a drink that tastes. Anyways, where's my controller? Did I put it down? Why did I put it down? There it is. I'm back. I'm normal. Everything's fine. You don't have to worry. Whoops, I fucked up the tracker. Let me just adjust it. Yeah, perfect. Huh. I was focused on the wrong game. And the lo-fi radio is still playing. No, stop. I forgot about that. Alright, here we go. Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. Ooh, we made it back in one piece. Just, to be perfectly honest, I thought we were finished there for a while. Oh, I know. What a lot of close shaves. There's so many carriages on the streets of London. You were very nearly flattened several times. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. Yes, I know. It was a marvelous defense, Naruhodo-san. It really was. I was in awe of you. Oh, thank you. And now your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time. Let's see if we can find some new clues for court tomorrow. Yes, let's do that. Is everything alright? I suppose I still couldn't quite believe it. That's all. And I'm here in England working as a lawyer, in the Old Bailey, no less. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? It should be him standing in my shoes. It should be Kazuma. Ugh. My man pain. It was Kazuma-sama's wish that you should follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him. Yes, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And you're doing wonderfully, Naruhodo-san. I've no doubt that Kazuma-sama would say exactly the same if he were here with us. Thank you, Sasato-san. Thank you. She's got such a nice... She looks very polite. Kazuma's wishes. And a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. Looking so fierce and determined in court. I could still see him. Then after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with. Oh, he was so crazy and wild. As a stowaway, as you can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so that I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through that trial, that you really ought to go into law. Be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it. Believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You'll have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world. The city's at the forefront of everything. Can't hurt for you to see it with your own 2 eyes. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. I've already read this before. One day what, Kazuma? Never mind, don't worry about it. Don't worry, it's... No, it's fine, don't worry. See, look, I'm doing the gesture, the no... don't even worry about it. No, it's fine. Yeah. Naruhodo-san? Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about Kazuma. As I am wont to do. Yes, he's forever in my thoughts, too. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better. That was his dream. And that's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course. Yes, that's right. But he never made it. I do wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know. The thought just takes hold of me every now and then, that's all. Naruhodo-san, what do you mean by Kazuma-sama's true intentions? Sorry. I mean this fucking sword. Take it! His katana? I never expected to inherit the sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know, it was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Karuma? That's right. It's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. I can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down, my gay lover. What did he mean by something very important that I have to do? I'd hoped that the answer to that question would become apparent when we arrived here, but as yet I've not found a single clue. I see. So, we know that Soseki-san took tea to the victim on the night in question, but as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea. But if that's the case, how on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shamspeare's body? I'm sure we'll find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shamspeare's room that will help solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place already, but it couldn't hurt for us to have another look around, I think. Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap. Well, if we run into Inspector Gregson, we could ask him about that. Alright, we'll just move. Let's go say hi to Mr. Shums and Iris. Before we do anything, we have to say hi to our friends.
Oh, Bruno and Susie! Hooray, you're back! Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see. I am, and you look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I've just made a pot of tea. I'll set some cups. Really? Thanks, Iris.
But actually, what is that foul smell? I forgot about his outfit. Aha! The Wanderers return at last. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We've been in court? Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, was it? I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Mr. Sholmes. I'm sure you think you did. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really? I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Zeeks an acquaintance, Mr. Sholmes? Naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but still. Mr. Sholmes? Whatever is that odor? Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed. That's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science. Oh dear. Alright, I'll bite. What's he up to now? Lord Baron Van Zeeks. Yes, it's an interesting sobriquet he has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. One of the legendary prosecutors has fought for someone's conviction. That person is doomed. Once the legendary... Even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts. Sooner or later, the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how exactly? By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames. Or succumbing to a sudden fever, or quite out of the blue being set upon by a highwayman. All seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Moustache is fighting fit. For the time being, at least. That's not overly reassuring. If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Zeek's own hand. As it happens, Miss Susato, that is quite impossible. Oh? Why? Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, whenever these incidents occurred, the Reaper always had a cast-iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued, but 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is, until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, so I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived when I was thrust into that trial at the Old Bailey. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection. And really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are, facing Mr. Reaper again. Poor Runo. I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky. Or incredibly unlikable. I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing. Of all Japanese people. You think he's racist? With Miss Natsue, who I'm currently defending being Japanese as well as Miss Susato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Zeek seems to have an inherent disdain of the Japanese, like he's super racist indeed. It is an interesting observation of how racist he is. Do you know something about it? Do you, Mr. Sholmes? It was about 10 years ago that Baron von Zieks chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan.
No! What the? Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened?
I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair.
Oh, but...
The veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Moustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe.
So what the fuck stinks? So what is it that indescribably foul smell?
Ah, well, most probably this, I would say.
What is that?
My dear fellow, it is, of course, my latest invention! A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea.
Oh my.
There are some unscrupulous sorts of manning the stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but is in fact merely dyed leaves of drab flavor.
Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior.
So when one is presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful. Iris!
It turned completely black. And what a foul odor it's giving off.
Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes and the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It appears that this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling.
That's very ingenious, but what do you do with that black liquid now?
Why, dispose of it, naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you?
There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new invention, Mr. Sholmes.
Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madam.
Right.
The point is, we are entering a new era of science. In the world of criminal investigation, also.
Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times.
I regularly engage in the scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Herlock-Sholmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative technique is based. If all modern scientific investigations are based off of Herlock-Sholmes' methods, that explains so much about the Ace Attorney universe and why the police are so goddamned incompetent. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? Doesn't it? They're fucking morons because this guy was a fucking moron! Ah!
Anyways. Forensic science. I suppose I should find out more about that. So, your t-test. Is that an example of forensic science?
Indeed it is. An essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases, then. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints. Not yet accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. Really, we are dragging our heels there.
I hadn't heard of them until recently.
Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course.
Does that mean you're studying fingerprints, Mr. Sholmes?
There are others in that field already, and I abhor the company of inferior minds. No, what I'm researching is skin prints.
Skin prints?
A nomenclature of my own design, as is this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation.
Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes.
As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents in action very soon indeed. Ha ha!
Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues. That's the spirit, Runo! See you later!
Yes, until later.
No, Mr. Sholmes, we were thinking you'd come with us.
You were?
Yes, of course! You said so just a moment ago. You said we witnessed your forensic talents in action.
Ah, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you go on ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later, in all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. Your commitment astounds me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Bye-bye, Runo. Bye-bye, Susie.
Tappity, 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 tip, 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 tip. Ah, yes, this is where you note down ideas, isn't it, Iris? So, what's on the blackboard today? Buck up, Runo. What is this?
Oh, I'm just playing around with ideas for the title of next month's installment.
Another idea I had was the barrel coronet. I'm really torn about which one to use. What do you think, Runo? Anything but buck up Runo, obviously.
I suppose you're right.
I tell you what, I'll surprise you with it. You'll have to wait until next month and see. Ugh, so many sleepless nights.
Iris?
That's incredible concentration, that is.
I find it quite remarkable how she can focus on so many different things at once.
Perhaps I should try drinking more herbal tea.
The blend third from the right would do good for you, Runo. Oh, Iris?
This girl is destined for great things, I'm sure. Fucking. Mr. Sholmes seems to be making funny faces at something on his desk. I thought he said he was going to come with us to Mr. Shamspeare's room. No doubt he's preparing something, Mr. Naruhodo. Something amazing!
And he's doing it whilst asleep. Is there no limit to the man's talents?
Let's just go to Mr. Shamspeare's room directly. You know, why not? Oh, hello, Gun Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here?
Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually.
The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, I know the score.
Oh, yes. One other thing. The soap and the ledge outside the window. Did you find it? With the tea in it?
Yeah, we found it all right. And there was a small amount of tea in it, as he said.
I knew it.
It's the identification section. It's with the identification section of the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today.
That's wonderful news. Thank you.
Pretty impressive performance in court this morning.
Sorry?
Nothing. Forget it! Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here.
Is it just me, or was that a compliment?
I can't take it. I need to get his fucking outfit back on. His normal outfit. I hate him too much. I have to go back to title. Yes, I know I just saved, but I'm saving again because I'm insane. I'm gonna basically just keep on Susato's. Because Susato's looks good. Runo's is like fine, but it messes with his armband animation, which I don't really like. And this is a bad outfit. So I'll just keep Susato's. There's the ass I hate.
Mr. Sholmes, what are you up to over there?
What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? Ooh, ha. Ooh, ha. Oi! What are you doing here, Sholmes?
What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems. Is now the time, Mr. Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in action as you promised?
With the greatest of pleasures, my dear madam.
Oh, he's lowered his glasses. What's all this?
All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruhodo. Herlock Sholmes' sensational skin print Sika gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim.
A sample from Mr. Shamspeare's cup?
Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this, a refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touched is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on. There, now, spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed.
Spray? How? How do I do that exactly?
Little press on A. Hit the A button.
Ah, what is that stuff? It's like fog.
A suspension of the chemical indicator in a pressurized gas. It's the most efficient way to cover a large area. That was another invention I discovered incidentally whilst I was developing this idea.
As you do.
Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting about the victim's movements on the night in question.
Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. Look, there are dozens of handprints here.
So there are, a great many indeed. So much so that it's hard to make out one individual print, in fact.
It sends a chill down my spine. Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture?
Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene, after all.
And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such close quarters, I feel.
Oh, very true, Mr. Sato.
It's a bit of a mystery, then. Oh, look at all this here. Oh, okay, cool. It is something.
Ah, yes, interesting. A multitude of the victim's handprints.
Why are there so many of them on the floor in this one spot? Ooh, perhaps he had a bad fall. Just here? There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though. Is there?
I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over.
I think that's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Sholmes.
Well, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor.
Yes, there's no obvious explanation. Well, we sprayed Mr. Sholmes' amazing skin print indicator all over this room, didn't we? We did, but there are two places in particular that are of interest, I would say. The handprints on the floor there, and on the wall by the picture, you mean? Yes, and I think the floor warrants closer investigation. I won't be a moment. Ah! What is it, Mr. Sato? Look here, Mr. Naruhodo. One of the floorboards has popped out. One of the... You mean... It's a secret hiding place?
Oh, excellent work, Mr. Sato. So what do we have in there? Here. Oi, what are you lot doing? I'm doing Mr. Sherlock Holmes. I'm doing...
Inspector Gregson.
Stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there.
No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips whilst we dig around under the floor here.
Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyway, Sholmes. A new bit of evidence is exactly what I need.
Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find. It's not a hiding place you could make use of in Japan. I don't think I could lift a straw tatami mat. No, I know, but I never expected one of these wooden floorboards to move either. It's got me wondering about the wall over there too. Aren't you curious? Oh! I'll investigate it once. there's nothing behind the picture, sadly. Only the wall.
How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints?
I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that.
Click. There you are, a print for you.
Oh, thank you very much. His invention can make prints too?
Now then.
I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything under the floor there.
I'm desperate to know!
So am I!
Yo, Greggy! Greggy! Toby! Greg! Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Inspector Gregson! Really, it's been too long! What is it, Sholmes? I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there. Seeing as we're such good friends. We're not friends. No, I suppose not. A dismal failure! Hoo-ha!
Yes, I heard. Ugh, I'd kill to know what was under that floorboard.
Alright then. Fair's fair.
What?
You did discover the hiding place after all? Suppose I should at least fill you in.
Really, Inspector? Thank you!
Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, it's that he blows with the wind as fickle as the weather. Oi, stop making me out to be some kind of nut. There were 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know? Looks like this was cut out of the paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester.
How terrible.
It made the headlines down here in London as well. Bloke had been sentenced to death, you see, but nature got him first.
Oh my goodness. He'd committed a capital offense?
Man by the name of Selden, nasty piece of work, into burglaries and murder. They say the hoard he knocked off was worth about £1,000.
A hoard? Of treasure, you mean?
Jewelry and the like, but he'd hidden it somewhere, and no one knows where, and now he's dead. Papers loved it, of course. £1,000 lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline.
Does it not strike you, though?
Why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor? I suppose now you mention it. Does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we've got on Selden back at the yard and see if I can turn anything up.
What? Why? Why? Okay, alright. This motherfucker. Why does Garadeb know Olive Green's brother or husband?
Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street in front of the house here.
The gentleman on the left is Mr. Garadeb, the landlord, of course. But who's the young man on the right? Mr. Garadeb's son, perhaps?
Perhaps. You can take that print if you like.
Really? Are you sure? We can presume, therefore, that the yacht already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Ah, is that true?
Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work. All the more reason I'm not telling you! A dismal failure!
Yes, I heard. I wonder, why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor? I mean, Mr. Shamsbury himself isn't in it.
Photographic prints are still real treasures in the East End. I imagine Miss Garadeb was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it? If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case, I wouldn't be the least in the least surprised. Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty. What? Shamspear, give us a clue, man!
You didn't even have the chance to utter a word, Mr. Naruhodo. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box. Yes, thin air. It's empty, rather like how I feel inside. Is there nothing more to this box, then? I wonder.
Is it added to the... Can we add it to the record, though?
Wagahai? Wagahai? Wagahai! Yeah! Woo! Woo! Let's go! Let's go, Wagahai! Woo!
Wait, does that mean that there's a connection between the victim's room and the, behind the stage?
What was its name?
It's Mr. Natsume's, isn't it?
I don't think we ever asked him, actually. Why don't we call it, Wagahai? You know, like Mr. Natsume refers to himself in Japanese. I wonder how he got in here.
Clever cat.
Oh, wonderful! Well then, Wagahai, here's something delicious I bought for you from the Cat's Meats Man. Meow.
Nom 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 nom.
He couldn't be happier now, look. I just hope we can bring some happiness to his owner, too.
Stretch. Everybody take a stretch break. In honor of Wagahai.
That was a cheeky little meow, Wagahai. Oh, but he's so adorable. I could sit and watch him forever.
I think he may not appreciate that after a while, and we have an investigation to get back to. But so he came from... So we have to inspect it, Mr. Natsume's room and try and find whatever this, you know, thing is. Let's go to Miss Green's hospital bed and see if we can't catch up with her about her person. Alright, St. Bart's, let's go. What do you suppose is happening? It sounds like some sort of disturbance. Yes, I hear angry voices.
Be not angry, O ample lady, verily thou art mistaken.
Mistaken, my foot, you were looking at my painting.
The eye of man hath not heard, and the ear of man hath not seen. 'Twas foul indeed the poison that moustached villain gaveth me. Forgive me, lady.
I wish that you died from that poison.
God a mercy, ample lady, but thou seest, I have vigor still. Behold my Shamspear dance! I'm a little boy who loves berries and cream, berries and cream.
This looks rather ominous, doesn't it?
Ah, lo, 'tis the lawyer from the land whence rises the sun. How now?
What are you doing here, Mr. Shamspear?
Marry, I do believe I'm returning him to another ward.
He was looking, that's what he was doing, looking at my terrible work.
Eastern fellow, so darkly clad. Faith, thy work in court this morning was wonderful. I do applaud thee.
Oh, well, thank you.
But that doesn't mean things will go so wonderfully for you tomorrow, does it? Anon, as you...
Ooh. That explains it. My hands were a little bit off. There you go. But there's definitely a lot more to it than that. It's very hard to pin the man down.
I'm so sorry. I'm such an awful person. Ah, Miss Green, is everything alright? Oh, yes, I mean, don't worry about me. They're about to discharge me, so I must get ready to leave now. Oh, I see. We're delighted that you'll soon be well enough to go home, Miss Green. Oh dear, you're too kind. I don't deserve it.
Alright, I have to talk to her and present her the photo.
So, are you feeling more like yourself today, Miss Green? I am, thank you. I mean, people do recover from ordeals like this, don't they? Even people like me? Well, yes, it really was an ordeal, wasn't it? As far as I was concerned, I was just walking along in the snow one evening, minding my own business. And then, completely out of the blue, I was struck in the back by a knife and collapsed unconscious for days. Of course, when I finally woke up again yesterday, the whole business had been cleared up already. What a terrible week it's been for you. Oh no, I'm sure I'm very lucky, really. I'll look back on this fondly.
Really?
Anyway, I must be getting my things together now, so I'm ready to be discharged. Oh yes, of course. Sorry to take up your time when you're obviously busy.
Present her the photo. Look at her work. Ah, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo? No, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes, this is a person. Poor woman, I hope she hasn't read this. Ah, this looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so he or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. Hey, what's in your bag? Hey, what's in your bag? I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt, and...
No, Mrs. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. I'm ever so hungry. Damn it, really? Fucking...
Alright. Maybe we can get the answers from the Gyarados. Why the fuck your fucking photos in your fucking photo? In your fucking house. You fuckers.
Mr. Gyarados appears to be out.
Oh well. I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Nope, nothing. Okay. You're also gone. God damn it. Ah, the ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on that ill-fated night. In the heated literary debate, yes. Who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? It sounds like it was quite a discussion. That's fiction, Mr. Sato. Let's hope it stays that way. We don't have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove. There's nothing else to investigate here. It didn't say that the tin box was added to the court record, so I can't investigate it. Maybe he was looking at the actual painting. Back to Sholmes' suite? Nope. Back to the legal consultancy to talk to Susato about what to fucking do, because I'm lost. I was told that he'd been returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Oh, which one is that? Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. Oh, I have no doubt you'd managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There's nothing left to fucking examine anywhere. The soap? This bar of soap? Really? Give me something, man. Hmm. There's just straight up nothing here. God damn it! Hi, I'm a cat. I am not a cat. No! Don't answer that. It's obvious. My cursed soul is never going to escape this accursed fate. Wow, 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 wow. Listen to me now. This morning's proceedings in court prove that there's hope. Yes, yes. Welcome, Sid, Miss Naruto Esquire is brilliant, but the Reaper is omnipresent in court in my lodgings. Here, there, everywhere. What's he looking straight at me for? I think perhaps there are some things we should discuss. Oh, yes. Yes, we must. Do you know anything about this photo? Nope. Right, this photo. Whatever. We'll just talk to you, I guess. In my whole life, have I ever been so moved as I was today? No! Of course, if I cast my mind back, there were perhaps one or two other occasions that moved me more. But if I just block those out, then today, being that in that courtroom was... It was the most moving experience of my life! Welcome, student, Mr. Naruto Esquire! You're too kind. Scotland Yard found the remaining tea just as we deduced and are analyzing it as we speak. There's nothing wrong with that tea. They won't find a drop of poison in it. That's a solemn, sworn, Soseki certainty! Tell me, did you both drink the tea at the same time that night? Oh yes, most definitely. Remember, drink tea while it's hot. We both poured it down our throats like it was a hot bath for our bellies. And at the time, you were both completely fine. As shown by the fact that he and Mr. Shamster then engaged in the Romeo and Juliet match. I suppose the focus of tomorrow's proceedings will be how the poison was taken by the victim then. That rotten Shamspear! What have I ever done to him? You don't recall him taking issue with you over anything you've done recently? I've been holed up in my room, immersed in books. I don't recall anything. Anything at all! Right. But what I don't understand is why he didn't let me know sooner. Let you know what, Mr. Natsume? About the soap, of course. What else? Oh dear. Are you struggling with such meager stipend? Of course I am! If I had money, I wouldn't have chosen to live an accursed existence in such accursed lodgings! Oh yes, you said it's because the place is cursed that it's so cheap, didn't you? Exactly! Especially the room that I rent. The spirit of that capital offender who lived there still haunts the place, and it's trying to kill me. God damn it. Ugh. The one piece of new evidence I didn't present because I thought it would be not relevant at all. What's this? It's a newspaper cutting that we found in Mr. Shakespeare's room.
Ah, so he knew, did he? Sorry? About this man, Selden, the convicted killer, and the evil spirit behind the curse that afflicts my lodgings! What? He's already taken one young man's life, and now he's trying to take the life of another! A miserable, mustached, much maligned Japanese man! Mr. Natsume, if you know something, please, you must tell us. Tell us everything you can about this evil spirit. The truth is, I didn't know the details myself until very recently. That Selden man was arrested about a year ago now, and at the time he was hiding out in lodgings at Mr. Garadeb's house. What? He lived where you do now? That's right, yes. Exactly where I live now, in my very room. Oh my! Your room was previously occupied by a criminal found guilty of a capital offense. Before his sentence could be carried out, he died in prison. That was 3 months ago now. And that's when it started. The curse! What really is this curse you keep mentioning, Mr. Natsume? It's already caused one death. A few months after the criminal passed away in prison, a man died in the room. The man who rented it after Selden, in fact. The poor lodger, he was found dead in mysterious circumstances. The room was locked from the inside. Locked from the inside? Exactly the case we're dealing with now! So, that's the convict curse, is it? Yes. Well, that was the start of it. Do you have any idea how the lodger before you passed away, Mr. Natsume? The official cause of death was asphyxia. When they discovered the body, the room was full of gas. Gas? I only found that out after I'd signed the lease. When Mr. Gardo came to tell me later, I couldn't stop myself trembling. In fact, if I'd known beforehand, I'd probably have been too scared to take the room. Landlord's lease, luckily legal! Lucky for Mr. Gardo, maybe, but not so lucky for poor Mr. Natsume. And now you believe this curse is affecting you? It is! At first, I just felt as though I was being watched. All the time. And then you talked about having nightmares, didn't you? The dead are trying to take me with them. They come for me and try to suffocate me. Just when I'm struggling to breathe, I wake up, and the room is as cold as ice! But why is your room so cold? London winters are too cold to bear without any heating on overnight. But for some reason, even though I light the stove before I climb into bed at night, the pilot light always goes out and the room fills with gas. But that's terrible! That's exactly the same situation as what led to the previous occupant's death. And then there's what happened to Mr. Shakespeare last night, when he was mysteriously poisoned. There's clearly more to that incident than can be explained by a curse, though. Whatever can be the cause of all these strange happenings in Mr. Garadeb's rooms? Maybe we should ask Mr. Garadeb. Hey, Mr. Garadeb. Mr. Garadeb. Ah, you motherfucker. Ah, you're here now, Mr. Garadeb. Right, bally business it is for me, you know. Getting out and about. Were you at the Old Bailey by any chance? Naturally, fate of my lodgings hanging in the balance and all that. Not a trial to miss. The fate of what's already been dubbed your haunted lodgings, yes. Of course, the place has caused quite a stir around the capital on more than one occasion already. As the old haunted lodgings or some such. Ah, well, at least he knows. Makes you wonder what the blazes is going on, don't you? Don't you know? Yes, I'm sure it does. In fact, thinking back to Mr. Natsume's other trial just 2 days ago. You were at the Old Bailey then as well, weren't you? Testifying with your wife about what happened. Stopped off at the prison on the way home. In fact, beastly business. I see. So, what brings you to my haunted abode today, eh? Sholmes is here, and I don't like it. Hey, who's this? Mr. Garadeb, could I ask you to look at this photograph?
Is that your son who's with you there? No, not all. He was a lodger here once. Duncan Ross was his name. Duncan Ross. Street photographer happened to be passing, so I asked him to take a shot. Just for kicks, really. Was he by any chance the lodger before Mr. Natsume? Yes, that's right. Ah, the young gentleman who died in the room in mysterious circumstances. Just what Mr. Moustache was waiting for, one might say. Yes, young Duncan lived in the room at the top of the first flight of stairs before that Japanese chap. Would you mind telling us a little more about him? Huh. Interesting. Some fishy fellow from the Far East and a failed actor chap of questionable character, eh? Yes, the house does seem to have become something of a magnet for rum fellows of late. Thanks to that bally curse. The convict's curse, you mean? Ah, heard the stories, have you? Rotten scoundrel was arrested here, then the next chap in the room goes and keels over. Then there was that woman who dropped dead just outside on the street, not to mention the actor yesterday. Am I next, eh? Well, can't help but get the collywobbles, can you? When you say the woman who dropped dead outside on the street, do you mean Miss Green? Because Miss Green, who was stabbed by the knife, and Mr. Shamspear, who was poisoned last night, are both very much alive still. Yes, well, so is that blasted convict's curse, it seems. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. No, I can't get my Sherlock Holmes voice when I keep on doing the Garrett voice. They shouldn't be in the same room together. Personally, I should be quite content with such lodgings. A bath, a toilet, a fireplace, a fascinating history. Why, it sounds like the lap of luxury! I'm not so sure about that. Well, there's no bath or toilet included, and no fireplace either. But you do look out for your tenants, don't you? For watching the rise and fall of the flames in your gas lamps up here? Yes, never hurts to keep an eye on things. In case there are any mishaps or such like. I think you've had a mishap already, sir. That's not helpful, Mr. Sholmes. Heaven forgive me. The words just came to my lips. Alright, let's just get the lodger's death out of the way. Yes, Duncan Ross. Young chap was attending art school. Had to work to pay for it, mind. Moved into the middle floor room about a year ago, after that criminal Selden was arrested. Young students are always on the hunt for rooms with a history behind them. A history of cheap rent, maybe, yes? Yes, well, anyway. It was one morning about a month ago now. Hadn't quite worked out the old trick of watching the gas lamps to see what my lodgers are up to at the time. So sadly, I was rather tardy to discover what had happened. Smell of gas that alerted me, it was. Ah, yes. Synonymous with the smell of death. Called the police straight away, of course, and the officer kicked the door off its hinges. Once we got inside, we all bally collapsed. Because of the gas? Yes, the room was full of it. No air at all. Stove must have gone out while the poor chap was sleeping in his bed. So Mr. Ross suffocated to death. Of course, the police gave me a sound ticking off because the gas pipes were so old and all that. Can't tell you how much it set me back to have the lot replaced all over the house. But even after you had all that work done, Mr. Natsume says the same thing. That the stove goes out at night whilst he's asleep in bed. Well, that's the bally curse! The convict's curse! I've done my duty as a landlord now! Someone's feeling defensive. There's no need for that, Mr. Garradeb. That's right. Mr. Natsume is in no way fishy. He is undeniably peculiar, however. Is it right that he took the vacancy immediately after the previous tenant passed away? Yes, that's right. I asked the estate agent to find someone and he popped up the very same day. Never come across a chap so keen for a place with background, as it were. I don't think it was the room's background he was keen on, so much as the cheap rent, actually. So, how long has Mr. Shamspear been lodging under your roof? That failed actor chap? Let me see. Oh, of course! Yes, it's been 3 months now. Quite sure of it. Only 3 months. He's quite new here too, then. And to what do you owe your certainty in that regard, Mr. Garradeb, if I might ask? Well, it was that Selden scoundrel as it happens. Selden? The convict, you mean? Do Selden and Shamspear have some kind of connection, then? That convict chap, Selden. Passed away in the clink 3 months ago now, you see. It's a malady or other.
Yes, we've seen the report from the newspaper at the time.
Well, it was only 3 days later that the tragedian showed his face. The actor fellow.
Really?
Yes, I remember it quite distinctly.
That 'tis small this world we inhabit. Prithee, landlord, hear my request. I, the humble Shakespeare, do desire to take thy room on the middle floor offered erewhile for rent.
Terribly sorry and whatnot. That won't be possible. I already have a lodger on the middle floor. Ground floor room's vacant, though.
Nothing can be made out of nothing.
Let me repeat mine will unto thee. Those curls must be muffling your ears. The room on the middle floor is taken. It's ground floor or nothing.
Very well. We have an accord.
Glad to hear it. Welcome to Briar Road.
Lo, a Shakespeare dance to celebrate!
From what I heard in court today, sounds like the chap was thieving gas. And he was 3 months in arrears with the rent, too. Yes, fellow's a bally player, all right.
Thank you for your candor, Mr. Garadeb. We are most grateful. By way of appreciation, allow me to say 1 or 2 words. Give me my robe, put on my crown. I have immortal longings in me. What's happened to you? Shakespeare, my dear fellow, one of his most famous lines! I wish to divulge my own learning of the subject, for I have a turn for literature too, you know. Perhaps you could turn your attention to more apt lines then.
Ah, that reminds me, actually.
Yes?
But young Duncan, the night before the poor chap perished. He'd been writing a letter of affection to a young lady.
A love letter, you mean?
Yes, where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. He left it on my desk. If you'll excuse me. Let me see now. What does it say? To my most beautiful and charming sweetheart.
Do you think that we should be reading such a personal piece of correspondence?
My dear Miss Usato, that is precisely why I preface my reading with, if you'll excuse me.
I will not excuse you, Mr. Sholmes, no.
Sadly, he didn't address it, though. So I've no means of delivering the thing. Rather sad, really.
I see. That's going to play on my mind. But really, the identity of Mr. Ross's sweetheart has no bearing on the case. I think we should leave well alone.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Indeed, the intended recipient's address is missing. However, there is a name attributed to the man's most beautiful and charming sweetheart.
Mr. Sholmes, please! I've already had to chastise you about this once.
My undying love to you, my colorful darling. Olive green.
Olive green? What?
I mean, it's fucking obvious. No, it ain't.
Miss Naruto, whatever can this mean?
Reading personal correspondences can have its merits, you see, Miss Susato.
Bye, Mr. Garadeb. We're going to the hospital now. Shamspear, you fucking sham. Don't you fucking interfere, you fucking fucker. Miss Naruto, I've just finished speaking with the doctor. It seems the screen is well enough to be discharged at last. This is good news, but hopefully just before she leaves. Ah! What is it? Miss Green! What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. One moment, I'll be with you in a jiffy. Oh, hello everyone. What are you all doing here? The doctor said I can be discharged, so I'm just getting my things together. Miss Green, what were you just doing? Oh, nothing really. I was just about to take some medicine the doctor prescribed for me, that's all. Well, we were hoping to have another quick chat with you, if that's alright. I don't really have anything else to tell you.
Alright, she's definitely behaving strangely. Let's see if we can't cook something out of her. Finally!
Miss Green, we were hoping to ask you about someone. Mr. Duncan Ross. You knew him, didn't you? Oh no! I'm so sorry! The bottle of medicine fell down when she did. Oh, Miss Green, are you alright?
I hope that rat doesn't drink that and fucking die!
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to startle you like that. No, it's alright. I just wasn't expecting it. But how do you know about Duncan? Mr. Ross had been writing a letter when he passed away. The landlord found it in his room. It was a very personal letter to you. It was at the art school. That's where I met Duncan, a year ago now. He was working to fund his studies. He dreamt of becoming a professional artist. And the two of you became romantically involved? Yes, that's right. We were very much in love. We were engaged to be married, actually. That's why he decided to move into a cheaper room, to save money for the wedding.
And that's what led him to Mr. Garadev's.
Yes, he told me he'd found the worst, but cheapest room in the entire East End. And then, 1 month ago, that's when it happened. We're so terribly sorry, Miss Green. Well, it's all in the past now, I suppose. Poor Miss Green. She looks desperately sad.
I was starting to think that's just her look. But now I see that she has every reason to feel the universe is against her.
It's wonderful news that you're going to be discharged, Miss Green. Oh yes, thank you. Once people are better, the hospital staff don't want them lingering and wasting space, not people like me anyway. So I don't think I should keep anyone waiting. I probably shouldn't stand around and chat.
She certainly doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk, that's for sure.
I do hope you won't think I'm being rude, but would you mind leaving me in peace now? I have to leave the hospital soon. Oh, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to hold you up. Of course, we'll be on our way.
Mr. Naruhodo! Surely you were not about to leave? That's quite out of the question!
What? Mr. Sholmes, I didn't realize you were here!
But of course I was, my dear fellow! Watching intently from the shadows, as always!
Well, make your presence known next time! Mr. Sholmes, what's this about?
Something which occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Sato, is this. Why do detectives insist on such an ex post facto modus operandi? Why solve a case after it's happened, instead of preventing a case before it happens? That is what sets a great detective apart.
What do you mean?
There's a case waiting to happen under our very noses, Mr. Naruhodo. So let us avert disaster. Let us prevent this case from ever happening. With nothing but careful observation. Alright? All the clues you need are set before you. You need only look and you cannot fail to see.
You can do it, Mr. Naruhodo. I know you can.
First of all, the weird letter or whatever you were looking at. It definitely feels as though this card must be relevant. I mean, when we first arrived, Miss Green was standing with it in her hand, in what can only be described as a very tense atmosphere.
Yes, it may very well be related to whatever incident Mr. Jones believed was about to happen here. Perhaps we should ask Miss Green about it.
We can't look at the painting, but we can look at the dead fucking rat!
That mouse seems to be dead. Look. I didn't notice it there before, did you? I think perhaps it drank the medicine that spilled out of the bottle. But that's the bottle that Miss Green was about to drink from when we arrived. You don't think...
Ah, I see you've come to appreciate the true nature of this scene. That of a tragedy about to take place.
Yes, I think it's falling into place. Miss Green, the contents of the bottle you had before, has spilt onto the floor, and the poor mouse that drank it has sadly died. Ah! I think it's clear that the bottle must have contained a powerful poison. Don't worry, I will attend to the mouse presently. Oh, hell yeah! No mouse death! No mouse death! Miss Green, were you intending to go the same way as that rodent? To take your own life? Oh, the mouse did die, but Susato just moved it. Ah! Once we'd left, you would have put it to your lips again, wouldn't you? And taken the poison. No! Miss Green, please! Please talk to us! "10 seconds later, and we would have arrived at a very different scene here. In all probability, we would not have enjoyed this most delightful conversation. Of course, perhaps it hasn't been quite so delightful from your perspective, Miss Green. Actually, in a way, now that everything's out in the open, I feel like a weight has been lifted. Tell me, how did you acquire that medicine?" Well, with this being a hospital and all, when the doctor comes to examine me in the mornings, he always leaves the medicine cabinet open for a while, so I snuck this out when he wasn't looking. It conspicuously lacks a label. I wonder what it contains. I'm afraid I don't really know, but I thought if I drank it, it might just stop the pain somehow. Oh, please, Miss Green, don't talk of such things. Well, it seems clear now that it contains poison. Yes, that poor little mouse is proof of that. Oh no, oh, it's all my fault. What have I done? I shall remove this to my office, Miss Green. I take it you have no objection. No, none. Neither the sender's name or address appear to be written on the envelope or the card. It arrived by post at my home the day before the incident that put me in the hospital here. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Wait a minute. The 17th of this month? That's the day you were stabbed on Briar Road. And 5 p.m. is precisely the time when the incident occurred. The Slug and Salad, yes. A pub on the northern corner of Briar Road. Briar Road, being the street that Mr. Gardev's house is on. Does this mean that... Yes, I'm sure you've guessed. That day when I was struck in the back by the knife, I was actually on my way to the Slug and Salad. Goodness. So that's what you were doing on Briar Road that day. Oh. I'm sorry I didn't say anything before. I think I really will have to ask you to excuse me now. I've told you everything. Yes, I'm very sorry to have had to drag up such painful memories for you. No, it's fine. Miss Green, please, promise us you won't try to do anything like that again. Yes, don't worry. Your detective friend has the bottle now anyway. And besides, I have been stabbed in the back and had a close shave with a bottle of poison, and I'm still here. I think I'm destined to see things through to the end. It might sound a little conceited, but, well, that's how all this has made me feel. Yeah, you ain't die. You won't die. Leaving Miss Green and St. Bartholomew's behind, we made our way back to Baker Street with Mr. Sholmes. Well, it would appear we've reached the end of the investigative trail for today. Yes, it's late. And, Mr. Naruhodo, did you discover anything that may be of use to you in court tomorrow, do you think? Details about Mr. Shamspear, Mr. Gardev's lodgings, the convict Selden. There are many facets to this case, and we're yet to see the heart of it, if you ask me.
That's my feeling, anyway. I can't help wondering about the results of the analysis. Into Mr. Natsume's tea, you mean? Yes, will they have found strychnine in it or not? Well, I fear that either way. It will be hard to escape the grip of our friend Mr. Reaper. Oh dear. Yes, Barak van Zeeks. But I wish you every success, of course. And though I was late to rise this morning, tomorrow will be a new dawn. I intend to spring from my bed at a crisp hour and attend the trial. Mr. Sholmes, you're going to come? Indeed, whatever happens, I shall be there. Assuming my eyelids cooperate in the morning. Well, I think we've done all we can. All that's left is to remain focused and keep fighting for Mr. Natsume's cause until the very end. London, the world's most prosperous city, home to some 6 million people. But away from the razzle-dazzle, down back alleys and behind bricked-up windows, the lonely lurk. So Seki-san had battled long and hard with loneliness during his many months here. And so I felt honor-bound to battle equally hard for my compatriot, to lift the curse that gripped him. And as Mr. Sholmes said, tomorrow would be a new dawn for all of us. Alright, that's a good stopping point. The hidden treasure is somewhere in Mr. Natsume's room. And that's why everyone keeps trying to kill the tenant of that middle room. And by someone, I mean Shamspeare. So, but then why did he get poisoned? I assume that it's because he tried to poison himself, or he tried to frame Natsume with a non-lethal amount of strychnine. Well, in that case, he wouldn't have died mid-coin thingy. He would have done something a little bit easier to manage. I don't know. He tried to frame Natsume, and trying to get him out of the room so that he can go into the room. He murdered Duncan Ross. He's trying to murder Natsume, and he tried to get information from Olive Green about Duncan Ross's death by posing as this person who sent the letter. Alternatively, Olive Green showed up at... No, because she wasn't awake, I think. But why was the other half of her envelope at the scene of the crime? It's hard to say. Anyways, let's jump back over to hanging out. Ah, hello! Yes. A wonderful stream. Got a lot done. Not as long as the previous stream, but thank God it wasn't. These cases can drag on a bit. But I hope you all enjoyed my funny little gesticulations, my hand movements, and all that. I certainly enjoy doing them. I've even got like a second monitor just set up specifically to look at how I'm doing things so that I can be a little bit more accurate in my animations, you know? But that's going to be it for today. Thank you all again. Thank you for coming to my orbit, and I hope to see you next time. There's nobody left in the stream, so we're not going to raid anybody. So have a good rest of your night. Bye. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.